first thank Flo Anthony for joining Toxin Magazine's Everything Old School podcast. Now, Flo Anthony, for people who may not know who you are, could you tell us a little about who you are and some background?
My name is Flo Anthony. I'm a celebrity journalist and an author, and I also do a daily syndicated radio feed. And I've been in this business a very long time. I guess I could say 40 years. I started when I was 2, but I could say 40 years. And during that time, it's encompassed sports, entertainment, journalism, as I said, radio. I did quite a bit of television back in the 90s. And I guess some of my claims to fame would be I was the first Black woman to work in the sports department at the New York Post, and then the first person to work in the entertainment department at the New York Post, and of course, the first Black person to work on the esteemed Page 6 at the New York Post. Prior to that, I had a sports column called Keep Punching, that was in the African American newspaper. And then I did publicity for 12 different world champion boxers. That's how I really got to the New York Post. They were looking to hire a Black woman in the sports department there that had a background in sports. I also represented football players and several other athletes during that time period.
So, what made you want to get into this crazy business that is so chaotic and so controversial? What inspired you?
Well, the business kind of hired me. I didn't hire the business. Of course, I came to New York City originally to be an actress when I got out of college, when I graduated from Howard University. But I started, even though I worked, I mean, I'm a voice of a character on Sesame Street, and I did soap operas. I mean, I really actually did work, did movie things. But for some reason, I've always been able to write. When I grew up in Ann Arbor, Michigan, I was the youth reporter to our newspaper there, the Ann Arbor News, for my high school. It's something that I could always do. And, people are so shocked I write novels, but I've always been a creative writer since I was a little kid. When I was very small, I was enamored by Caroline Kennedy under that desk in her father, the late John F. Kennedy's presidential office. And so I would write letters to the White House. I couldn't have been any more than 6 years old or something, 7 at the most. I would write letters to the White House, and they would send me back the pictures of Caroline Kennedy. So then I think I was in the 2nd grade. I wrote a play about Caroline Kennedy, and the school put the play on. So this is just something that my mother's always said is a God-given talent. It's just something that I could always do. And that's how the writing came about. I had a cable show called Go With The Flow. And a guy asked me if I could have 3 boxers on. Well, one was Harold Weston. He was actually retired welterweight challenger. He fought for the title twice, but didn't win either. Once against Wilfredo Benitez, and the other one against, oh God, I just saw the guy. Ugh, I was just with him in California, Pepino Cuevas. So at that time, he was the matchmaker for the boxing at Madison Square Garden. And he brought along Eddie Mustafa Muhammad, who at that time was the WBA light heavyweight champion, and Saul Mamby, who was the WBC junior welterweight champion. And so they said, oh, we love this TV show. Is there something you could do to help us? So they became my first clients. And then after that, I started working for Butch Lewis and Michael Spinks. And then it just grew from there. I was very upset when Mamby lost the title. I believe we were in Akron, Ohio. And I was very upset about it. And Larry Holmes just saw my devotion to Mamby. And he said, can you come to Easton on Monday? I'd like to talk with you. I said, no problem, because, Easton is just down the road from New York City. And then he said, are you able to travel? And then he said, could you work for me too? So that opened up a whole new level of life for me, because, I grew up middle class, a daughter of 2 school teachers and whatever. And I thought I had this wonderful life, but being able to travel with Larry, because until my Michael beat him, he held that heavyweight title for 5 years. So being able to travel and do all that work for him, first class and everything, it was just unbelievable to me. And the people that I came across and all of the people that I had to meet and deal with working with him. And it was another guy, he passed away, Booker. He did boxing publicity. He lived in Los Angeles. So we were out there in Las Vegas when Larry was fighting Marvis Frazier. And that's Joe's son. Larry knocked him out in the first round. But Booker said, ask Larry to let you work in the press room here, because people are going to be in there from all over the world. And that way you will get these contacts from all over the world. So I just kind of learned as I went along. And that's how my career started.
Now, what was your most, I don't want to say most successful, but most exciting opportunity? What was the most exciting opportunity that maybe you weren't looking for, but it just fell in your lap?
Well, I've never looked for any of them other than I said I did come here to be an actress, but I could write. So that's how I got into all this publicity stuff. You know what? They were all pretty exciting. I mean, I even met the Michael, Latoya, Janet, and Randy Jackson. Before I came to New York, I was at home for a year working, getting a degree in social work. Went back home to the university, at the University of Michigan, and working in Ann Arbor. I actually got a certificate in social work technician. So at any rate, then we took these kids, because I worked at this group home, and we took them to Disney World, and we were standing in line, and this one of us said, Flo, that's Michael Jackson. Now, these are already kids that, have problems. So I wasn't thinking about her. Flo, that's Michael Jackson. Then she just got loud. Oh, that's Michael Jackson. So then they turned around and looked, and I turned around. I said, oh my God, it is Michael Jackson. So that's the first time I met them. And, from there developed a lifelong relationship with, both Michael and, of course, Latoya. She's my best friend. So one of, I can't say that. All right, the rest of y'all, you're my best friends too, but she also is. Because I'd get in trouble. But, and I traveled around the world with Latoya. I went to Paris and to London, with her also. So, I guess that was exciting, because whoever would have expected that, but it's all been exciting. When I think of it, for me, right, born in Mississippi, raised in Ann Arbor, Michigan, it's all been very exciting. From the people that I interview, just everything. I was looking at Courtney Vance when Angela won the guy that's been was it the Critics' Choice or the Golden Globe? Out of one of the awards she won the other week, and so many of them floating out there. But at any rate, I was watching him record her, and I said to somebody, I did his very first interview when he was in Fences on Broadway back in the 80s. And then he was nominated for a Tony, and everybody got so excited at the post and said, one of your interviewees has been nominated for a Tony. So, it's all been a exciting run. I have to say that. And I didn't expect any of it. I just always, I'm somebody who was taught to get up in the morning and go to school or go to work. And I've never been a controversial person, so much. I've always been someone who followed instructions, and, I never thought somebody say, you do this. No, that's never been me. I've just always done what I was asked to do. And I think that's a great part of it also.
Now, I did read recently that you thought you weren't invited to the Michael Jackson Broadway play. Tell me what happened with that.
I wasn't invited to opening night. I wasn't invited. And I was fine with it on going Friday night. I was fine with it because Michael Spinks, he was coming to town. I was fine with it. Me, I'm not going to fight people or anything. I was cool in the gang until I started seeing on television people going to the premiere. Then I woke up at 2:00 in the morning that day. I did complain to someone, and I said, I'm feeling kind of bad I wasn't invited to the premiere, but I wasn't really talking about them. I was talking about all of them, the estate, another Jackson friend who was running people in and out of there like chili. I was talking about everybody. I never mentioned any names. on Facebook. But then I woke up at 2 o'clock in the morning. It was on TV again. And Terrence Prince and Big, and he calls himself Blank, he calls himself BG. Now they were coming out. And I just got mad and started writing on Facebook. I guess I'm not an influencer. I guess I am the only person that took up for Michael Jackson. And that's one reason I don't have a TV show now. You know, I took up for him when his own family didn't. And so I just was upset. And so then I did, hell broke out. I mean, it was crazy. And, you know, so then I said, okay, I'll take the post down. Because someone woke me up at 7:30 in the morning, and one of these people I didn't even know. And it was crazy. I take the post down. And then they called back and they said, well, I want to thank you for doing that, but your supporters are still supporting you. I said, well, I can't stop my supporters from supporting me, but I'll issue an apology for what I said, which most people think I was crazy to do, because I didn't do anything wrong.
Right.
And so then one of my colleagues, one colleague that was a best friend, but unfortunately we have not spoken since this incident. And that's been almost a year ago, March of 2022. He decided to do a page 6 story. She called me and said he was going to do it. He said, it's a New York story. It's this, is that. And, you know, I'm an alumnus of page 6. So I didn't wait. He called me. He said, yeah, this is Carlos. I said, oh. So I said, look, I'm an alumnus of page 6. I'm the first Black person there. You about the third one there. Just nilch the story. And he was saying, no, he wanted to do it. And so that made things escalate a little more. But I came out smelling like a rose in the story. You read it.
Right.
You know, because I was telling to support back, you know, I mean, I love Michael Jackson, long live the legacy. I want everybody to win. And these two people that were hollering and screaming at me in the morning came at me so differently. Another person called that was involved with it. She said, did I do something wrong? Do I need to take you to dinner? I can get the tickets. I mean, it was just so different. Then this other person, this young woman that I know through Winton Marsalis, she called me on behalf of the manager of the kid who plays Michael Jackson and said, you know, we're sorry. Is there something anybody can do to help? I mean, so it all turned out okay. I went to see the play. It's the best thing I've ever seen in life, because the thing with Lynn Nottage, who wrote the script, a lot of people don't know that Katherine Jackson is a country western singer, that she could sing, that's where those kids got that voice from. And it's a scene in that play that Michael and his mother are singing together. And I was like, so few people know that. So she really got it. So
right, because most people just think that it was her husband that was so
well, he could play the guitar.
Okay.
And that's how Tito broke his guitar playing around with it. So then he said, let me see what you can do. And that's how they're musical on both sides. I mean, Jermaine, he plays the guitar. Randy plays the piano, guitar, a lot of stuff. They play instruments and things, but mostly you would see Jermaine and Tito playing those guitars.
Now, I'm familiar with your career. Do you remember doing WDKX in Rochester, New York? You were
every day.
Okay, and
I'm
you
still on every day.
Oh, okay. I haven't listened to WDKX in a long time.
Yeah, I've been on every day for 30 years.
It's and that's where I know a lot of your history, because I'm from Rochester, New York. And how do you get the scoop? Like, I mean, you're on there and you know stuff and you're dropping the tea. How did you get the scoop from everywhere and from anybody?
Well, part of my success with that is that I've only had problems with 2 celebrities in life. Whitney Houston, and then Spike Lee used to needle me, but that was always that we were real, friends. Everybody's always liked me and enjoyed talking with me. And I think that's part of it. And then plus I kind of ran in a famous crowd. You're talking, Michael Jackson, LaToya Jackson, you're talking, other celebrities. When you moved to New York City, you met, I got in with all those sports figures. So I was always places when things were happening. The night after Mike Tyson and Robin Givens got married, I was at the School Days premiere. That's how long ago that was. And I overheard somebody saying, Mike Tyson married Robin Givens in Chicago today. I turned around and said, really? They said, yeah, really, by this priest or something or other. So I called the post. Back then, you didn't have a cell phone. I called on the payphone and told them. And of course, that was a front page story. So I was just always places where stories were breaking all of the time. And, I still am. It's kind of ironic. For 2 weeks now, a lot of people have been telling me those cops, the black on black crime that happened down in Memphis was personal. And someone told me one of them took a picture after they had beaten poor Tyree Nichols to death and sent the picture to a girlfriend. And yesterday it came out, the police said that they took a picture and sent it to 6 people, including a female. Now, if I knew this 2 weeks ago, what took these cops so long to figure it out or find it out? So it's a matter of knowing people and people telling you things.
So when I look at personalities like, television personalities, journalists, Black journalists, as you said, most people like you, you knew a lot of stuff, you talked about it. What do you think is the difference between someone like you and someone like a Wendy Williams where people hated? What do you think is the difference?
Well, that's kind of loaded, but I'll go out on a limb with saying, first off, we all know now, it's come out in the open that she had all this cocaine problem and all this kind of stuff. One, she was always on drugs, but the other thing, she was always mean. Now, she'd never been mean to me, other than she did when she went back to WBLS, she had me fired. She said there wasn't room for both of us there. So that wasn't too nice. But
oh, wow.
She, in my opinion, has always been mean-spirited. And I feel very sorry for what has happened to her. To let a man in life beat you down when you're at the top of your game like she was, it shouldn't have had to happen. But what part of it happened, she never had any friends. That's part of it all. But it just, that didn't have to happen. And I've tried to be very friendly, giving pieces of jewelry and stuff in our lives and time. But I really do feel bad that what happened to her happened. It just, to me, you can't let life beat you down. No matter what happens, you have to give it to God and decide, okay, this is now, that was yesterday. We got to move toward tomorrow. Right. And because he was so mean and nasty to so many people, and all that outing and stuff she was doing, supposedly, or accusing people of being gay and this and that, when she was doing it, it wasn't like it is now. But we weren't such an open world to everyone, no matter, what they wanted to be or wanted to do or were born to be. And, she did things just to be mean and terrible.
Now, you mentioned something about her getting you fired. Now, the Breakfast Club had this question, have you ever gotten someone fired? Now, how did you know that she was actually responsible for you being fired?
They told me.
So they told you that
it wasn't big enough for both of us. And what's so bad about it, they took me off, told me this about 20 minutes before I was supposed to go on air that day.
Wow. Wow. Is there a lot of competition when you think about there's not many Black women on television, especially journalists? Is it a difficult business?
Yeah, I think it's a difficult business. When I was the first. I mean, Wendy, what she was kind of doing on the radio, she was getting out of tabloids, and I was writing the stories in the tabloids. And I'm the first to work in mainstream media, in, like I said, the 3 different parts: a Black woman in sports, a Black person in entertainment, and then of course first Black person on Page 6, which that's to me my greatest accomplishment in life. And back then it wasn't. There was a girl, CJ, out of Minnesota, the Minnesota paper. She may even still be there, but it was still kind of a different type of column.
Well, you talked about being the first, right? When you're the first, there's So there was no one that inspired you in this profession, or
No,
what,
as I,
when you think
I'm telling
about
you,
it?
I fell into being a gossip
Right,
columnist because I kept breaking stories when I was over on the in an entertainment department. When
right,
I with that Mike Tyson, even when I was in the sports department, you know, my friend of mine played for the Chicago Bears, the '86 team that won the Super Bowl, and he called me up and said that I think who was it, Jim McMahon or somebody, they had painted this Adidas thing on their headband and they got fined for $5,000. So that was like a pretty good pay six item. I was always breaking stories. And so that's how I got promoted.
right,
I I got promoted because I worked hard.
right. Like
And
when I look at
I
you, I
didn't
think,
really have anybody to that was doing that, that was Black,
right.
uh to um to look up to. No, I really didn't. I had Janet Langhart. She was a pretty a good mentor of mine. She was on television as a talk show host. Um, and I did happen to meet her, and I was really enamored with her. She's a very, very beautiful woman. But no, I really didn't have a role model to doing what I do. No.
Right, because when I think of you again, I feel like you're one of the first people, in my opinion, that really made me look at journalism like, oh my God, that's the way I want to do it. I didn't want to be on the news. I just, oh, being a robot reporting what everybody's talking about. You were so different than what was out there from my experience watching you. So what do you say to women like me who watched you and was like, oh my God, this is this is who I want to mimic, somewhat of my career.
Well, I think it's important that first of all, you have to have talent. Nobody can teach anybody to write.
Yeah.
That's just something you can take courses that can tell you how to structure things and to do punctuation, but you have to know how to write. In the case of my novels, it's a real God-given gift. I mean, those characters just kind of flow out, even though the main one is me. She's a
Right,
gossip, black
right.
gossip, but you just kind of those things just kind of flow on out. So that's the first thing. And then after that, you just have to be diligent and just pursue what you want. And I was very fortunate, to be in that after Jane Kennedy, being the second person in the sports arena and, getting into boxing the way I did and representing all those world champions, including the late, great Muhammad Ali, um, to be able to parlay there. And I had to set up training camps and I just learned as I went along. We needed ring girls. We were in Scranton, Pennsylvania, for a fight that Larry Holmes did. I looked up a modeling school and went over to the modeling school and then had a little ring girl contest and got the ring girls. So you have to be innovative too.
Right, right. Now, Marquise did tell me you have a connection to Russell Simmons.
Yeah, I've been friends with him a very, very long time, since the '80s. And when I had one of my magazines, Gladiator, it was a Black sports magazine. He was on my board of directors. He also, gave me advertisements from all his Def Jam records. He's been a huge supporter of mine for many years.
Now, what do you think about these accusations that have been levied against Russell Simmons? I haven't heard much from him, but
All I can say is that Russ denies them. I'm not going to comment any further on them, even though I know, several other women, but I just have to say that Russ does deny them and go from there. He
okay.
was never criminally charged with any of it. I believe that one of them he may have settled, but I think after he settled it, he regretted it because nothing, I think he was doing that for something criminal to come and nothing did. He was out at Grammys all weekend. He went to Music Hairs, he went to Clive Davis's party, and he also gave a private dinner, because it is the 50th anniversary of hip hop.
Okay. Okay. Now, is there anything that that you haven't disclosed, like say some gossip that you know about that is that you've been holding on tight to from back in the day?
No. Just all the regular stuff happening out there every day.
And you said what are you working on?
Well, right now I'm working on a lot of stuff. I still have the daily syndicated radio show. I'm in 20 markets. It's syndicated by AURN and Super Radio. And that's 5 days a week and 3 stories a day. In fact, when I finish with you, I still got to write up tomorrow's show. I've got the info, but I just got to write and put it together. And then I have 5 columns a week. I have a Go with the Flow that goes just in the New York Amsterdam News. Then I have another Go with the Flow that goes into other Black papers, including Caribbean Life, Philadelphia Sunday Sun, Columbus Times, and New Jersey Urban News.com. And then I write a column for AM New York. It's a daily, my column is weekly. It's called Big Apple Buzz, but it's a daily mainstream paper in New York City. And that column is called Big Apple Buzz. And I write a column for Dan's Papers. That's a Southampton, Hampton's period, weekly magazine format. And that column is called South of the Highway.
Okay, so are you on social media? How do we stay updated on you?
Yeah, I'm on social media, and all my names are different because I didn't understand what you're supposed to do. So I'm on Twitter as @BananaNoseKid, and that comes from when my cousin passed away. I had to go out to San Francisco to take care of things, and all her password was Banana Nose Kid. So then I just adopted that and have stuck with it. And then on Instagram, I'm Flo_author. And then on Facebook, I'm Florence Anthony. And it's not Flo because when I started Facebook, I thought you had to just put your full name.
Okay.
Years and years ago in the dark ages. So
now, is there anything else you want us to know that you think we should know? Again, I've followed your career, so I do know a lot about you. So it's my pleasure to have an opportunity to speak with you and just learn a little about you.
Well, I appreciate that. This has been lovely. No, that's about it,
Watching. So again, thank you so much for taking
Well,
some
I
time
can give
out
the
of your-
names of my novels. That might be a good thing.
Yes,
Well,
that would be perfect.
The newest one is called Last Call for a Deadly Diva. And it's very interesting. I found out my cover girl is Brittany Bell, who has 3 children with Nick Cannon. I found that out by accident when one of the people working with him came into my book signing, and that's Brittany. She's a model. That's Nick's girl. I said, oh, okay. And then the one prior to that is called One Last Deadly Play. And the other one, the second one really is called Deadly Stuff Players. My first novel, Keeping Secrets, Telling Lies, is no longer in commission. But Deadly Stuff Players, you can still get that. One Last Deadly Play, and finally Last Call for a Deadly Diva. And then I'm laying those characters to rest. I got to get some new people.
Now, where do we get those books from?
Walmart.com, BarnesandNoble.com, Target.com. I think in those stores, Amazon, Kindle. If you Google any of them, especially Last Call for a Deadly Diva, I think it has, because it's the newest one. The others are kind of old. It has the biggest distribution.
Oh, okay. So we'll look for those. And again, thank you so much for taking the time out of your schedule to speak with me.
All right. Thank you for having me. You have a wonderful weekend.
You too.
Go Kansas City Chiefs.